Empires are built on fear. Legends are built on choice. And on that burning battlefield, when an alien queen stood alone and surrounded by death, one human made a choice that would change the galaxy forever. The sky above the shattered capital of Vela Prime burned in violent shades of violet and white. Towering alien spires cracked apart under orbital bombardment. Energy shields flickered like dying stars. The once untouchable Erin Empire was collapsing in real time. At the highest command platform stood Queen Serelith. She was tall, blue-skinned, radiant even in chaos. Silver markings ran across her skin like living constellations. Long translucent crests curved behind her head, glowing faintly as her personal shield failed piece by piece. Around her, her royal guard lay motionless. The enemy had breached the final line. Across the battlefield, Commander Adrian Vale watched through the cracked visor of his combat helmet. Human forces were not winning this war. They were surviving it. Earth had entered the interstellar stage only 12 years ago. 12 years. And already humanity had faced extinction twice. The Dominion Coalition believed humans were reckless, emotional, primitive. They were correct. But they misunderstood something critical. Humans do not quit. Adrian's comm channel hissed with static. "Commander," Lieutenant Mara Iqbal said, her voice strained. "The Erin Queen is exposed. Dominion shock units closing in. 30 seconds. Adrian exhaled slowly. Strategically, saving her made no sense. The Erin Empire had refused Earth's alliance proposal months ago. They saw humanity as unstable. Too new. Too chaotic. But Adrian had studied them. If the Queen died, the Empire fractured. If the Empire fractured, the Dominion absorbed its fleets. And if that happened, Earth would be next. This wasn't heroism. This was math. "Redirect Squad Sigma," Adrian ordered. "I'm going up." "That's suicide," Mara replied instantly. "Probably," he said calmly. "But it's interesting suicide." He launched his thrusters and surged upward through collapsing platforms and falling debris. Plasma bolts streaked past him. One clipped his side, sending alarms screaming across his visor. He corrected midair and landed hard on the fractured command platform, directly between the advancing Dominion shock troops and Queen Serelith. For a brief second, everything slowed. The Queen turned toward him. Her luminous eyes widened slightly. Not fear. Surprise. A human stood in front of her. Dominion soldiers surged forward, armored in black composite plating, rifles glowing white-hot. Adrian raised his weapon and fired precise bursts. 2 enemies dropped. A third leapt across broken stone with unnatural speed. Serelith's voice was calm despite the destruction. "Human. You stand in my place of command." "Yeah," Adrian replied, firing again. "It's not great real estate right now." Another plasma blast struck his chest plate. His armor cracked. Pain shot through his ribs like lightning. He did not move. Behind him, the Queen's shield flickered desperately, trying to restore power. More Dominion troops poured through the breach. Adrian switched his rifle to overcharge mode. He knew what that meant. Overcharge melted the weapon after one final blast. He aimed at the largest cluster and pulled the trigger. The explosion tore through the platform, sending bodies and debris flying into open air. But one Dominion blade wielder broke through the smoke. The alien warrior swung a gravity-edged weapon toward the Queen. Adrian stepped forward. The blade cut deep into his side. His suit screamed warnings. Internal bleeding detected. Mobility compromised. Adrian locked both arms around the attacker and triggered his emergency thruster pack. They blasted backward together, straight off the platform. The Dominion soldier tried to break free, but Adrian held tight. "You're not touching her," he muttered. They slammed into a lower energy conduit. The impact crushed the enemy instantly. Adrian hit the ground hard. His visor cracked completely. Above him, reinforcements finally arrived. Human drop units rained down in controlled formations, forcing the remaining Dominion forces into retreat. The battlefield quieted. Smoke drifted through fractured sunlight. Adrian tried to stand. He couldn't. His suit powered down non-essential systems. He tasted blood. Heavy footsteps approached. Through blurred vision, he saw her. Queen Serelith. She should have been evacuating. She should have been issuing orders. Instead, she knelt beside him. The surviving Erin soldiers froze in shock. Queens do not kneel. Her luminous hands hovered above his chest, emitting soft harmonic light. Advanced bioenergy. Alien technology far beyond human medicine. Why? She asked quietly. It wasn't accusation. It was confusion. Adrian gave a weak smile. Bad habit, he whispered. We save people. Her crest flickered softly, processing. Her empire had seen humans as chaotic. But this human had calculated risk and chosen sacrifice anyway. Not for glory. Not for conquest. For survival of another species. Serelith pressed her glowing hands against his armor. Energy surged through him. His suit tried to resist foreign tech. She overrode it effortlessly. Internal bleeding slowed. Bone fractures stabilized. Neural shock suppressed. Adrian gasped as warmth replaced cold. Around them, Erin generals stared in disbelief. The Queen's light grew brighter. Not defensive. Protective. In that moment, something shifted. Not just on the battlefield, but in history. A human had stepped between extinction and an alien monarch. And instead of seeing weakness, she saw something terrifying. Humanity did not fight because it was powerful. It fought because it refused to abandon others. Even former rivals. Even strangers. Serelith leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. You should have let my empire fall. Adrian coughed weakly. Yeah, he said. We hear that a lot. In orbit above Vela Prime, Dominion fleets began repositioning. They believed the Queen was dead. They were wrong. And they had just made the most dangerous mistake in galactic history. Because now, humanity had chosen a side. And humanity never fights halfway. The Dominion did not retreat because they were afraid. They retreated because they were confident. From orbit, their battle sensors showed the command platform collapsing, the Queen's signal blinking out, and human reinforcements arriving too late to matter. To the Dominion, it looked like the perfect ending. The Erin Empire leaderless, the humans exhausted, and Vela Prime ready to be harvested. That confidence was the opening humans needed. In the shattered streets below, Queen Serelith stood while her officers still knelt, stunned by what they had seen. A queen healing a human. A queen lowering herself to touch blood and broken armor like it mattered. Her generals spoke in urgent whispers, but she raised one hand and the entire circle fell silent. Adrian Vale lay on a slab of broken marble, breathing in sharp, careful pulls. His suit was cracked, his ribs screamed with every movement, but he was alive. The Queen's light had sealed the worst of the damage. Not fully healed, just enough. Enough to do something stupid again. Lieutenant Mara Iqbal skidded to a stop beside him, her helmet smeared with ash. Commander, she said, voice tight. You're supposed to be dead. Working on it, Adrian replied weakly. Mara glanced up at Serelith, and her hand hovered near her weapon, unsure whether to salute or aim. Serelith watched her the way a storm watches a candle. Curious, powerful, not yet decided. Adrian coughed and forced himself to sit. We need to move. Dominion will come back when they confirm. Serelith's eyes narrowed. They already believe I am dead. Mara blinked. How do you know? Serelith turned slightly, looking past them at the broken spire. Because they do not understand what they just witnessed. Adrian followed her gaze. Around the command ring, broken Erin shield nodes still flickered in weak pulses. Human engineers would call it debris. Erin scientists would call it wasted tech. A human would call it parts. Adrian's mind clicked into motion. Pain tried to drag him down, but adrenaline held him upright. Your signal dropped, he said. Dominion thinks you're gone. That means they'll try to split your empire before anyone can unify. Serelith's crests glowed faintly. Yes. So we don't let them, Adrian said. We hit first. Not with ships. Not with guns. Mara stared. Then with what? Adrian looked at the Queen, then at the shattered city around them. With a lie, he said. A very expensive lie. The nearest Erin general flinched as if insulted. We do not deal in deception. Adrian gave a tired smile. Then you've been playing war on hard mode. Serelith did not react with anger. Instead, her expression sharpened, like someone seeing a door where others saw a wall. Speak, she commanded. Adrian pushed himself onto one knee, pointing at the still flickering shield nodes. Your command spire is gone. But your network isn't. Those nodes were linked to your orbital defense grid. If we reroute power, we can broadcast your command signature across the entire planet. The general frowned. The grid is broken. Broken is a human favorite, Mara muttered. Adrian continued. We don't need it perfect. We need it convincing. We send a signal the Dominion cannot ignore. We make them think your fleet is arriving. Make them shift orbital positions. Make them open formation. Serelith studied him. And then? Adrian looked toward the skyline where smoke rolled like black oceans. Then humans do what humans do. We improvise a miracle. Within minutes, teams moved like a storm of ants through wreckage. Human engineers and Erin technicians argued in short bursts, then stopped arguing and started building. Different languages, different tech standards, different instincts, yet something strange happened when they worked side by side. They adapted. Humans tore apart damaged Erin conduits with brute force and laughter. Erin technicians recalibrated human power cells with elegant precision. Mara supervised the chaos, translating gestures more than words, while Adrian sat against a fallen pillar and fed ideas through comms. Swap the coupler, Adrian said. No, not that one. The burnt one. Yes, the one that looks like a dead jellyfish. Erin techs stared at the human parts with visible disgust. Mara shrugged at them. Welcome to Earth engineering, she said. If it fits, it ships. Serelith moved among them quietly, watching, learning, absorbing. She was used to command that flowed downward like law. But here, command spread outward like fire. Humans made decisions fast, corrected them faster, and seemed unbothered by being wrong as long as the next attempt worked. For the first time, Serelith understood the truth about humans. They were not fearless. They were flexible. And in war, flexibility was a weapon. An hour later, the improvised broadcast array hummed to life. It was ugly, wires exposed, plates welded at strange angles, Erin crystal cores jammed beside human copper coils. It looked like it should explode. Adrian gave it a gentle kick with his boot. It did not explode. See, he said. Beautiful. Serelith stepped forward. How do we use it? Adrian's eyes narrowed, focusing. We make the Dominion see you, he said. Not your face. Your power. Serelith's crest glowed. She placed one hand on the array. The machine drank her energy signature like thirst. Light surged through human wiring. The broadcast shot upward, ripping through atmosphere as a pulse. In orbit, Dominion ships detected it instantly. A Queen-class command signature. Alive. Active. And worst of all, moving. Dominion formation shifted immediately. Their fleets rotated, adjusting angles to intercept what they believed was the Erin main force arriving. They opened their defensive arcs to reposition. They spread out. Exactly as Adrian wanted. Mara's comm chimed. Commander, we're getting Dominion chatter. They are panicking. Adrian's smile was small, but real. Good, he said. Panic makes patterns. Serelith watched the orbital feed on a cracked holopanel. She saw Dominion ships turning like sharks, aligning toward the false threat. But then she saw something else. One ship did not turn. A smaller vessel slid quietly to the side, moving away from the formation, descending toward the city like a needle slipping into flesh. Serelith's voice turned cold. That one. Adrian leaned closer. A strike craft. No, Serelith said. An executor. Mara swallowed. What's an executor? Serelith's eyes hardened. They do not seek victory. They seek certainty. Adrian's blood ran colder than the pain in his ribs. Meaning. Serelith looked down at him. Meaning they will not risk my survival. They will erase the entire command zone from the map. Mara's voice rose. A city killer. Serelith gave a slight nod. A starfire bomb. If they detonate it above Vela Prime, nothing within 50 kilometers survives. Adrian stared up at the smoky sky. The Dominion executor ship was already descending, hidden beneath the chaos of their fleet movement. It was a clean solution. A brutal one. And it would work. Unless humans did what humans always did when logic said, impossible. Unless they made the impossible messy. Adrian forced himself to stand. His legs shook, but he stayed upright by pure stubbornness. How long? He asked. Serelith's crest dimmed slightly, like morning. 12 minutes. Mara grabbed his arm. You can barely walk. Adrian looked at her, then at the Queen. Then I'll limp creatively, he said. Serelith stepped closer. Her voice softened by a fraction. Human, if you go, you may not return. Adrian met her gaze through his cracked visor. Yeah, he said. But if we don't go, nobody returns. He turned to Mara. Get every drone. Every scrap rocket. Every jammer we have. I want the ugliest swarm you can build. Mara blinked. A swarm. Adrian nodded. Dominion tech is clean, he said. They rely on order. We're going to feed them chaos until their own systems choke. Serelith watched him for a long moment, as if weighing the meaning of an entire species in one wounded man. Then she spoke a single command into her comm. Every surviving Erin unit responded instantly. Not because she demanded it. Because she believed him. Because she had seen a human bleed and still stand between death and a queen. And now the galaxy was about to learn what happens when humans stop fighting alone. Above the city, the executor ship continued its descent. 12 minutes. And humanity was about to throw a storm at the sky. The sky above Vela Prime began to glow. Not from sunrise. From judgment. High above the clouds, the Dominion executor ship opened its armored petals, revealing the core of the starfire bomb. It looked like a second sun being born. Small, white, and impossibly bright. Energy spiraled inward, building pressure that would soon turn into annihilation. On the ground, humans prepared something far less elegant. Chaos. Commander Adrian Vale stood at the center of a half-destroyed landing platform, his armor barely functional, his breathing shallow but steady. Around him, engineers worked like artists with broken brushes. Cargo drones were stripped of delivery clamps and loaded with explosive charges. Mining rockets were rewired into signal jammers. Civilian transports were filled with scrap metal to confuse targeting sensors. It looked ridiculous. It was perfect. Swarm is ready, Lieutenant Mara reported. If this fails, I just want it noted that this was your idea. Adrian smiled faintly. History loves bad ideas that work. Queen Serelith stood beside him, her luminous crest pulsing softly. The Erin forces had repositioned across the city, feeding energy into the improvised broadcast array. Her presence was calm, but inside, something had shifted. For the first time in her reign, she was not relying on superior technology. She was relying on human imagination. Executor has reached detonation altitude, Mara said quietly. 7 minutes. Adrian raised his hand. Launch everything. The sky filled with junk. Hundreds of drones, rockets, shattered satellite parts, construction bots, even delivery pods shot upward in uneven waves. Some spun wildly. Some wobbled. Some collided with each other before stabilizing. From orbit, Dominion sensors tried to interpret the swarm. They failed. Their systems were designed for fleets, formations, predictable attack vectors. They were not designed for madness. The executor ship adjusted targeting algorithms. It attempted to isolate threats. But every time it locked onto a drone, 10 more crossed its field. Jamming signals overlapped in ugly frequencies. Metallic debris reflected energy scans like mirrors in a storm. Inside the executor ship, Dominion officers hesitated for the first time. Detonation clarity compromised, one reported. Recalibrate, the commander snapped. But recalibration required order. Humans were not providing order. On the ground, Adrian watched through a cracked holodisplay as the swarm reached upper atmosphere. Many drones were destroyed instantly by defensive fire. Others exploded prematurely. A few were vaporized by proximity fields. But enough kept moving. Not toward the ship's weapons. Toward its sensor array. Now, Adrian whispered. Mara triggered the second phase. The drones that survived opened their cores. Instead of explosives, they released dense clouds of reflective microfilaments, millions of razor-thin metallic strands. They spread like silver dust, wrapping around the executor ship in a chaotic web. Sensors went blind. Targeting failed. Energy readings spiked unpredictably. The Starfire bomb, already at critical charge, required precise environmental calculations to detonate safely above target. Those calculations vanished into noise. On the executor bridge, warning alarms screamed. Core instability. Field interference exceeding tolerance. The Dominion commander had seconds to choose. Abort and retreat, or risk premature detonation. Pride made the decision. The executor ship forced the detonation sequence. And that was their final mistake. The Starfire bomb ignited inside a sensor storm. Energy surged outward, but instead of a focused planetary strike, the blast collided with a metallic filament cloud and reflected unpredictably. The explosion tore the executor ship apart. A blinding sphere of white light consumed it. Shockwaves rippled harmlessly into open space. Vela Prime trembled. But it did not burn. On the ground, a delayed thunder rolled across the sky. Adrian exhaled slowly. Then he collapsed. The stimulants in his suit had long since faded. Internal damage, suppressed by the Queen's earlier intervention, surged back with violent force. The blast shockwave, even from orbit, rattled his already fractured ribs. Mara caught him before he hit the platform fully. "Commander, stay with me." He tried to speak. Nothing came out but blood. Queen Serelith moved instantly. Not as ruler. As something else. She knelt again, not because he saved her this time, but because he saved her world. Her hands glowed brighter than before, energy pouring into his broken body. But this time, something was different. His injuries were deeper. Human biology resisted Erin healing fields beyond a certain threshold. Her light flickered. Adrian's pulse weakened. Mara looked up, fear breaking through her discipline. "Can you fix him?" Serelith hesitated. Queens did not hesitate. But this was not about empire anymore. This was about a single human who believed survival was better shared. Adrian's eyes fluttered open slightly. He looked at her, not with fear, not with expectation, but with quiet acceptance. "Worth it," he whispered. Those two words shattered something inside her. The Erin Empire had survived for centuries through calculated superiority. Through distance. Through pride. Humans survived differently. They survived together. Serelith made a decision that no Erin queen had ever made in recorded history. She opened her core. At the center of every Erin monarch was a living bioenergy matrix, the source of their longevity, their power, their command over planetary defense networks. It was sacred. Untouchable. She tore it open. Light exploded outward, bathing the platform in radiant blue-white brilliance. Her generals cried out in shock. This was not healing energy. This was life transfer. A piece of her own core, her lifespan, her strength, flowed directly into Adrian. His shattered ribs realigned. Internal bleeding reversed. Cells regenerated beyond natural limits. The cost was visible. Silver markings across her skin dimmed permanently. Her crest lost some of its glow. She swayed slightly, weaker than she had ever allowed herself to appear. But Adrian breathed deeply. His eyes focused. He sat up slowly, stunned. Mara stared between them. "What did you do?" Serelith answered quietly, her voice softer now. "I chose." Adrian looked at her, understanding dawning. "You didn't have to." "Yes," she said firmly. "I did." Around them, Erin soldiers watched in silence. A queen had given part of her own life to a human. Not as debt. As alliance. High above, Dominion fleet formations scattered in confusion. Their executor was gone. Their certainty shattered. And now, for the first time, they faced a united front they had never predicted. Humans and Erin standing together. Not because of treaties. Because of trust forged in fire. Serelith rose slowly, extending a hand. Adrian took it. In that moment, the meaning of strength changed across two civilizations. Strength was not domination. It was sacrifice. It was creativity under pressure. It was the willingness to stand in front of something fragile and say, "You go through me first." The war was far from over. Dominion fleets still darkened the stars. But they had lost something far more important than a ship. They had lost the illusion that humanity was small. And as human engineers already began redesigning their swarm tactic into something even more dangerous, one truth spread quietly through every surviving channel in the system. Never corner a species that turns junk into miracles. Never threaten a queen who has chosen humanity. And never mistake compassion for weakness. Because sometimes, the most powerful weapon in the galaxy is a human who refuses to let someone fall alone.